For more on this, let's bring in John Carney, Breitbart economics and finance editor and co-author of the Breitbart Business Digest, which has a cult following, and Joe Livornia, who also has a cult following, chief economist at SMBC and formerly the chief economist at the White House National Economic Council. He's also a senior fellow at the America First Policy Institute. Welcome, gentlemen. I want to emphasize some of this under-the-hood stuff because I don't think this is near as good. The unemployment rate went up 0.3%. That's not a recession signal yet, but historically, a 0.5 point rise is a recession. So you got 0.3. Now, that could reverse. These are very volatile numbers. Edward Lawrence did say correctly the household population, the household survey, dropped 310,000. That's small business, family-owned business particularly. Unemployed up 440,000. Joe Livornia, just one for you because we've done this work when we were both in government. There are 6.1 million people unemployed today. That is higher than the 5.8 million in February 20. So actually, that's a problem. I mean, you think everything's hunky-dory. Black unemployment up 0.9%. That's not a good number. And the employment to population ratio fell by 1/10. So I know John Carney is more ebullient about this. Joe, you are not. Joe, why don't you start off? I'm just saying I'd be pretty careful here how we play this one. That's all.
I didn't know, John, you were that excited about it. I looked at the report and said, oh, my God, that payroll number looks really good, but everything else looks really poor. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is the wage numbers are softening. Untold is what happened on Thursday with the productivity and labor cost figures. The compensation numbers were revised down massively. So, and those are nominal numbers, got revised lower. So I see an economy that still looks on the surface to be generating a lot of jobs, Larry. But boy, underlying growth, GDP, gross domestic income, broad labor trends they look terrible. And if the Fed is going to hike rates in June, they're going to further invert the curve. 2s, 10s back to minus 80 basis points. This banking crisis is going to continue. It's going to fester.
We have run, maybe we'll run them again. We have charts on the collapse of M2, the inverted yield curve, and the decline in commodity prices. We can run those as we go along. John, where is the strength coming from in this jobs report?
So a couple of places. One, if you look at prime age workforce participation, that is at multi-decade highs. Actually, women prime age workforce participation is at the highest it has ever been. So we're actually having a lot of people working right now. I'm not that worried about the lower wage gains because I think one of the things that's happening is we're growing the labor force by so much, 339,000, that a lot of those were probably lower wage jobs. So this is a compositional effect dragging down the wage number. If I were the Federal Reserve looking at this number, I would be very worried because this is the 14th month in a row in which the jobs numbers have beat expectations. Mm-hmm. 20 out of the last 21 months. This is not an economy that appears to be cooling off, at least in the labor market part, fast enough to get us to 2% within, a reasonable amount of time.
But manufacturing continues to fall.
But not that by that much. I expected manufacturing. We keep reading. You look at all the ISM surveys. They tell you that we should be in a deep manufacturing recession. If that's a manufacturing recession report, that's shocking. It's the lightest, recession that we've ever had.
Well, there may not be that many manufacturing jobs left.
That could be, but I will say.
But I think that, to bring this. Look, today was a fabulous day in the stock market, which is wonderful. So Dow's up over 700 points. And we'll talk to Nancy Tengler in a few moments about it. A lot of it was in the cyclicals. So that's to Joe's point. Commodities, energy, consumer cyclicals. So that's economic growth stuff. But one thing that troubles me in the Fed conversation, Joe Livornia, I don't want the Fed to target jobs. I want them to target prices, okay? And that's the reason that I would prefer to see a pause right now, because commodity indicators have been falling, the money supply indicators have been falling, and the yield curve's been deeply inverted. Now, those models aren't perfect. I get that. There's no such thing. No one's crystal ball, certainly not mine. But I just hate to see them, jobs went up and we got to tighten. They're opposed to jobs? Really? What is wrong with What is wrong with people working? I always say that. Why does the Fed insist on these old Keynesian left-wing Phillips curve nostrums?
But because under Greenspan, early on in Greenspan, they moved away from a rules-based approach, became much more discretionary. It was replaced with these Phillips curve output gap frameworks.
Right.
They don't work. There was an interesting San Francisco Fed paper that came out this past week that basically said that inflation only a couple of tenths is due to higher wages. Of course, didn't get much press. But the Fed is fixated on this. It's an institutional problem, Larry. So they believe too many jobs cause inflation.
And look what a
too much credit and money creation.
Institutionally,
yes.
What a terrible job they've done.
And the point I've also made many times is the Fed, they're always in agreement. This just shows you it's all groupthink.
Groupthink.
There is no dissension. There is no debate among the committee members, which is amazing because economists aren't known to agree on things.
John Carney, my pal, I've known Robert Sinch for over 50 years, okay? And he puts out these little missives. He's a very smart guy. He's wondering, when you look at the payrolls about big companies, right? A lot of people have 2 jobs, and that's scored in the payroll survey, but you wouldn't find that in the household survey. Could that be a factor?
I do think the biggest driver, it could be a factor. One of the biggest drivers here is I think a lot of people are being pulled out of the gig economy, out of self-employment, and into the payrolls, right? And
That's
some of those people are losing their jobs. So one of the things I think we're seeing, the reason for the divergence, is that the self-employment economy is not doing very well right now. So a lot of people with small businesses
that's the household survey, and
right.
that's the unemployment rate.
That's right. The household survey unemployment rate reflects that. And then a whole bunch of them are moving into payrolls. They're taking jobs. And so that's how you can get both the unemployment going up and the payrolls going up.
So last word, one-word answer, yes or no. John Carney, are we going into recession?
We are, but not till next year.
What a hedge. Joe Livornia, are we going into recession?
Yes, and this year, 3 words.
John Carney, Joe Livornia, there you have it, folks. Who am I to comment?